I call this Topsham Board of Selectmen meeting to order on April 1st, 2021, virtually. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excellent. Patty, would you call the roll, please?
I will. David Douglas.
I am here.
Marie Brilliant.
Not yet.
Ruth Lyons.
Here.
Matt Nixon.
Present.
Roland Test.
Yeah.
We are missing Marie Brilliant.
Thank you, Patty. Town Manager's report.
Good evening, everyone. The town's new website is now operational. It's ADA compliant and improvements have been made to content organization and design as well. You can view the website at www.topshammaine.com. I'd like to point out that one of the exciting new initiatives is to highlight people and businesses in our community. If anyone would like to nominate a Topsham resident or business to be featured on the community page of the website, please contact the town manager's office. And I think everyone will get a brief glimpse of it tonight during the planning director's update to you. We'd also like to welcome 3 new members to the Topsham team who were hired last week. We have Dennis Gazowski from Public Works Department, Ryan Camarda to the Police Department, and Fulton Hunt, the Solid Waste Department. I'd like to remind everyone also that the state of Maine moved the deadline for Maine individual tax payments from April 15th to May 17th. The change aligns with the federal government's recent extension of the federal tax filing and payment deadline. And lastly, I'd like to thank Shauna Cook-Miller from Burstein Shore for her work on the Topsham Housing Authority TIF and for joining us tonight for the public hearing. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Any questions of the town manager? I am seeing nothing. Thank you. Now we are on to board committee reports and updates. We got an update on the ordinance amendments for town meeting from the planning board, Rod Melanson, town planner.
Thank you, Dave. I'm just going to give a quick update here. These will be coming back to you as a public hearing on the warrant article. Most likely, just to let you know, the planning board will be looking at this next week as a public hearing for the waiver standards. I'm going to share my screen if you'd allow that. Whoops, hold on a minute. Did it? Let me, 2 seconds. Okay. Make sure I'm sharing the correct screen. Technical, here we go. All right, so this is the new website. Hoping everybody can see this. This visible to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to actually step through where the ordinance amendments are right now. Under Government and Planning Board, we have an ordinance amendment site and the 2021 ordinance amendments. There's only 2 that are being proposed for town meeting, one of which you're familiar with is the marijuana business licensing and the waiver standards. Very briefly, the waiver standards in the planning board, they will be looking to consolidate and really align all of the language in all of the different areas where we allow waivers. Parking standards have have waiver procedures. Site plan has waiver procedures, streets has waiver procedures, as does subdivision. We're aligning all the language to be the same language so that there's no conflicting for any applicant. They can just go to have the same waiver standards for any section of the ordinance. So it's a kind of a house cleaning effort for that one. The other one, whoops. Stopped for share, was the marijuana business licensing. I'll bring that up really quick again and find it. We chatted about the business licensing at the last meeting. That's online as well. The one piece of feedback from the Board of the Selectmen was for renewal of a marijuana business license. We are going to have I added the public notification period where you'll see that language right here. We're going to notify abutters and have a 14-day comment period prior to any issuance. And again, just for reminders that they can be triggered to public hearing at any point. So those two things are online. Those are the only items that are being proposed for the warrant article. And again, they'll be discussed again at your next meeting.
Rod, it just clicked to me. So when we do that, notify the abutters. So are we gonna notify the businesses that they certainly want to get their stuff in ahead of time because we've added this this 14-day?
Right. Oh, yeah. They're in the ordinance already as a 90-day period, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they need to submit.
Okay, excellent. Any questions of Rod from the board? Not seeing anything. Excellent. Thank you, Rod. I appreciate it. We are on to correspondence. And I forgot I had a correspondence that I shared with the board. So if anyone has any right now, while I am scurrying to find the one that I shared with the board that I was going to read this evening.
I have one, Dave,
Go ahead, Ruth. Thank you.
and I got this. I should have shared it with the board. I haven't had it that long, but it's from Tom Sawyer, and it has to do with the Mountain Road, and it's in what he said in reviewing the draft minutes for the meeting of March 18th, 2021, specifically item number 21 through 24. The information indicates the Board of Selectmen met in an executive session and voted to have the town manager advise of their unhappiness with Highland Green for Mountain Road not being ready to be acted on this coming town meeting. Since Highland Green is reflective of not only the development, but also the residents, wouldn't it be more appropriate for the minutes and message to reflect displeasure with the developer? The agreements are with the town and the developer, not the residents. And I believe the wording would give readers the impression residents are involved or somehow hold responsible for the delay. Thank you for your consideration of my concern with this issue.
I understand exactly what Tom is saying, and I agree with him.
Yeah.
Though those minutes reflect what we said, I'm just trying to think through how to can we reflect the change? I mean, I agree 100% with what he said, but those minutes are what we said, and with us, we knew as our conversation went is with the developer, not the location,
Residents, right.
I don't know how to change that because the minutes reflect what we talked about. I think certainly as at least as a public acknowledgement right now, to me, I agree with him. It's more with the developer than
Yeah.
it is the group.
And these minutes will reflect the actual sentiment.
Yeah, these minutes, that's right. Patty will have these minutes now reflecting that sentiment. So very good. Do everyone agree with that?
Thank you. Yeah.
And I am struggling, folks, to find the letter that I shared with you. We have way too many emails. If I find it as we come through this whole period, I will get it up. Anyone else had any correspondence? No. So there are no adjustments to the agenda that I'm aware of. Does anyone have any adjustments? Seeing nothing. So anyone that would like public comment, not about any particular item on this, we'd take your phone call now at 373-5090. As well, if you are on the Zoom portion of it as an attendee and you wanted to speak that way, you can do so. So I'll give a couple seconds for that. All right, I see nothing there, but I did find the letter of correspondence that I received and I sent to the board. It was dated Wednesday, March 17th from Corey Riggett O'Leary. And it reads, to the Board of Selectmen, over the past year, hate crimes against Asian American people have escalated to 8 women being murdered in cold blood by a white supremacist terrorist in Atlanta. Maine is not immune to this. As we continue to see hate crimes and white supremacy run rampant in our communities, what are you doing to protect human rights in our state, including the right to safety for hate crimes? As a Topsham resident, I would like to see a public statement outlining your plan to combat white supremacy and its invidious effects of the safety of our friends, family, and neighbors. What is your plan to hold media accountable to accurately reporting terrorism within the US? As an elected official, it is your responsibility to take immediate action to create a community of safety and draw a clear line of where you stand on human rights. No one is safe until we all are. Thank you for your swift action on this ongoing issue. Corey Riggett O'Leary. So that was that letter. I have no phone calls. I don't see any hands raised. We are going to move down the agenda. Onto the consent calendar, approval of the minutes of the regular selectmen meeting on March 18, 2021. I will make a motion that those are approved as written. And next meetings will have our discussion from Ruth's comment, her correspondence earlier, clarifying that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motioned and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Attention.
Roland, I'm gonna, it's all right. So who abstains? Roland.
Yeah.
401, Patty.
Thank you.
Public hearing 21-27, consideration any appropriate action on the public hearing for Topsham Housing Authority TIF. So as all of our public hearings work, I will gavel open the public hearing portion of this item. And at that time, any member of the public is able to speak about the subject. And that can be done through calling into our phone number 373-5090, or if you're an attendee and we can elevate you to into the Zoom meeting here from that. So once I gavel out of the public hearing, there is no more public input allowed at that time. All discussion then will take place between the members of the Board of Selectmen. So I am about to gavel her open. 21-27, public hearing, consideration any appropriate action on the public hearing for Topsham Housing Authority TIF. John, would you take a moment and give an overview for anyone that may be watching at home or anything?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Dave, and members of the board. I again want to express my appreciation to the staff at the town for all of their assistance in helping us get to this point. And I also want to again thank the board for taking this up. I'm now cognizant of the fact that while I've been working on this for a year and a half, this is rather new to you. And so I do appreciate your taking the time to get this on the agenda and try to move this forward. Topsham Housing Authority, as you know, and those that may be listening, is an agency that was created by the citizens of Topsham back in the early 80s to address the need of affordable housing in our community. And to date, you know, we've started off slow, but we're now starting to find our groove and beginning to acquire and develop more affordable housing in Topsham. We presently own 17 units, and we are now working towards plans to create 38 new residential dwelling apartments in Topsham off of Tedford Road. These will be 2 and 3 bedroom units. Really, the rents will be set at a market level that people earning anywhere from 50 to 60% of the median income can afford these rents. It's really targeted towards those that are working. We certainly, it's for lower incomes, but also, you know, as I've said in the past, we're using the low income housing tax credit to acquire the necessary funds to develop these units. And while there is a ceiling on income at 60%, there's also a floor. People have to earn a certain amount of income to be able to afford those rents. And so we really are targeting working folks here in Topsham. And it's a difficult process these days to develop housing, given the complexities in zoning and costs and construction and getting through all of the planning board process. But we've been very fortunate to do that with the planning board and got site plan approval for the units. And now we're really working towards securing the financing with Maine State Housing Authority. And as I said, housing is very expensive to build. And in order for even a nonprofit developer like Topsham Housing Authority to break even, you've got to have sufficient revenues to support your operating expenses. And one way the state has done, created a program to help us do that is through the Affordable Tax Increment Financing District. And that's why we're here this evening to talk about an affordable housing district. The district would last for about 18 years. We're looking to receive the credit enhancements for 16 years to get us through that tax credit compliance period. And as the town knows that how that process works, you've done several. We would be asking the citizens to agree to that TIF and allow us to split the tax proceeds for the 16 years between the town and Topsham Housing Authority at 50-50 split. And that revenue helps to offset our cost of running these units. So that's why we're here this evening. And again, I thank you for having me here.
Thank you, John. And maybe it was just, I do have one question. You just said over the 16 years, though the charts show 18, is that because in the first 3, there's nothing? There is no projected increase assessed value or anything. So it's really 18 years, but the flow would be over those 15. Is that the thought?
Yeah, 16 years is what I've been asking for. Right, correct. I mean, we're not going to be, we won't have any units for another 2 years while we're in the process of construction. So you're absolutely right. That's my understanding. This is the first one I've done. So I could certainly turn to Shauna, who might have some information about these tips more so than myself. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if you wouldn't mind, I just wanted to offer, and nice to see everyone, Shauna Mueller from Bernstein Sher, representing the town on tax increment financing matters. I believe the documents are for an 18-year TIF district, allowing for some grace period, right, for construction. So there's a maximum term for the credit enhancement agreement in these documents of 15 years. I know John has been asking for 16. I don't think we ever really came to change the original conceived credit enhancement agreement max term from 15 years to 16 years. So I just want to clarify that what's in front of for the hearing tonight and before the board is a 15-year CEA. So I just wanted to make sure that was cleared up. The 15-year term within the 18 years is triggered from a certificate of occupancy for the project. Then that will initiate that 15-year term.
And the expectancy is 2040. Okay. Excellent. Is there any, I'm looking around, any public comments or questions? And then board too, if you have any questions of John, you want to, Ruth, go ahead.
I just have one, and then when the board discusses, I'll bring up some stuff. But John, first of all, thank you, because I do support affordable housing. But one question I had from the time this was conceived or you started this project, and I'm understanding every day the cost of building materials is unbelievable. So are you still on target with your financial plan that you have?
That's a great question. And a lot of it is still unknown. We are on schedule to get the application in, to secure the financing, to get the bid documents prepared and put out on the street. And we won't know what we know until we know it. And so if we get it out to bid, we hope, like November, December, and hope for a spring construction. That's when we'll know whether or not we are going to be able to continue to move forward. That is always the threat in these developments is what will the cost be in a year from now? Will they go up, they go down? They are astronomical right now. We have accounted for that in our budget planning. We had units that we did in Topsham already, an 8-unit building. So we used those costs. We inflated it by 25%. And then I think we inflated it another 15-20%. So we're hopeful, because I started out at about an $8 million project and it's now up to $11.4 million. So
Wow.
we think, you know, and again, we can afford it if the financing comes in the way we're asking it to come in. The project should still cash flow and be viable and sustainable.
Just to follow up with that, if you had to, could you settle, I don't know how the state would look at that document and stuff or your proposal, but if you had to, could you do 35 units, say, or 30 units versus 38 if you had to because of cost? Would that be allowed?
It certainly would be allowed. I mean, that's one
Okay.
thing, working with Maine Housing is wonderful. Before cutting units, we'd look at other means to cut costs, value engineering, you know, where can we still provide good quality housing, but by doing it a little differently to save some funds. So yes, it's always a possibility to design it a little differently and the number of units moving forward.
Thank you, John.
Matt? Your hand's up.
These actually might be questions more for Rod regarding the site. But I was curious, John, the water body that's there right now, is that proposed to be filled in? Is that a recent, basically excavation that's just filled in with water now?
Yeah, it's not so much, yeah, it's a retainage pond for stormwater runoff. And that was really put in place for the Topsham Crossing homes that are there now. So it's really kind of part of that subdivision. It's really not so much used for that. It's not necessarily needed. And that homeowners association is required to maintain that. But what Topsham Housing Authority do, should we go forward and purchase the property and develop, is we'd take over the maintenance of that aspect. But we're also putting in our own stormwater management plan that's going to address the units that we build, which really is not part of that retention pond that you see. So.
Great. All right. I just want to make sure it was man-made. That's good.
It was.
And the other question was more about access. Just looking at the Tedford Road neighborhood in general, I mean, there's quite a few houses back there already. I was curious if Audubon has been paved or if there's any intention to pave it at any point. It just seems like a lot of cars, a lot of vehicular traffic coming out of that one. I mean, Tedford's a pretty small, narrow road, 25 miles an hour, no sidewalks. I'm certainly in support of this project. It seems like we should have a bit more access back there than one way in, one way out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what the town's future plans are in terms of access and around Tedford Road, but I know we have to pave what's now known as sort of Kings Road or Hatmatack. That will all be paved. It's going to end at where our property line ends. So that we certainly have no plans to extend it any further than what our development would require. But certainly we would work with the town on any infrastructure improvement in and around that neighborhood.
Rod looks interested in answering that.
Yeah, I'll offer just a little bit of clarification because it should be clarified that Topsham Crossing, the housing project that John proposed was an amendment to an existing plan that was approved back in '99, I believe. So with Audubon Way, another around 1999 approval from Highland Green created Audubon Way. There's a sewer extension that goes along portions of Audubon Way connecting Highland Green there. Highland Green recently received an approval for an assisted living facility at the end of Audubon Way and Village Drive. And their future plans are to create more cottage units along Audubon Way. They are required when the assisted living facility goes in to upgrade the Audubon Way to 22-foot wide, portions of it remaining gravel, paved to the assisted living facility. And when they come in for the cottages, have a fully paved, much like Mountain Road, public road. That was part of the original master plan for Highland Green. So it's a timing, when will it be, whenever they develop, that road then becomes a full access public connecting Tedford and Highland Green.
Cool. That makes sense. Thank you, Rod. That's all I got.
Okay. John, I still don't see any public comments or anything, so it's just us grilling you, I guess, right now. On attachment 7, page 3, there's, it's attachment 7, section F. It talks about there's a small grid, and it says it's 24 2-bedroom apartments, 14 3-bedroom, but in the paragraph up above it, it says 23 2-bedroom, 15 3-bedroom, both total to 38. I don't know, it doesn't change anything, but what is the correct layout?
I think it's the 24 and 14.
Okay.
Is my recollection. Yeah.
Okay. And just so the board knows, when we come back out, let me tell you now so you're aware of it. This was found this evening under attachment 4, the actual town meeting warrant article. We will need to make a change to section 7C at the very end of the paragraph. This ends with town does not exceed 5% of the total, and it should say, rather than acreage, it should say total value of taxable property of the town, not acreage. Justin just found that today, so we want to make sure when we come out and we send that to hearing, we want the right wording, so when we go to town meeting, we're all good. Are there any other questions within public hearing? I see no phone calls. I see no hands. All right, I am going to close the public hearing. And from this point forward, all discussion will take place between the Board of Selectmen members and anyone they feel they need to garner more information from. So, members of the board, comments, questions, well, hopefully your questions are out, but comments, go ahead, Ruth.
I went over to the site and looked at it because I had received some phone calls from the neighborhood. And their concern is, and as I looked at it myself, my concern is right now there is a lot of traffic on Tedford Road from those housings coming out. So if you come out onto Tedford Road by Rusty's store, you've got traffic going both ways, which is a pretty heavy traveled area. And then the thing that worries me is the amount of traffic, no sidewalks or anything like that. Again, I'm all for the housing, but I think those things are concerns for me as a board member. And I was like Matt, I thought it was a low area and was concerned about the wetness of it. But I guess that got answered tonight. But people were concerned about kids walking to meet the bus or walking to school, or those were the phone calls I received, and also the traffic. And there is a lot of traffic, and it is the contention coming onto that extension often the coastal connector and trying to make a left-hand turn there with the way that hill is, and then put more traffic there. I think it's difficult. My comments.
Thank you, Ruth. Anyone else have comments? Go ahead, Roland.
Yeah, actually, my only concern is I just wonder if the math's going to work on this. Because everything seems to be going out of sight relative to housing construction prices. And hopefully you're able to achieve the goal of 38 units. But let's just see how everything shakes out over the next 3 or 4 years. But I really support it. I think it's a great idea and it's much needed.
Any other comments? No, I'll make a comment. Ruth, I do. I understand what you're saying. I've talked with people out there before. This TIF does have the mention of sidewalks on Tedford Road. So the benefits of that TIF could certainly go to that. And it's something future boards are going to have to be cognizant of. But it's not lost on me that it's a very busy road, but it's a dead end road. So the busyness is all the residents that are there now. It's not like there's cross traffic, connecting traffic, anything like that. So that is something, this is a plan from 1999 that's been, sounds like it's been changed to get to this point. My greatest concern, and I'm going to vote to move this forward, but I'll be honest, and it's a battle, right? We need affordable housing. At the same time, when we start adding 38 housing units, which talks about the possibility of up to, I don't know what it was something like maybe 67 children that could be added to Williams Cone School. It's that balance that we are as a community needing affordable housing, and affordable housing is needed for families, right? And then it has trickled down. So obviously within the TIF, there is wording that the portion of that could be used for the added costs in the schools. So that's good. But it's just something to be aware of when we approve these things and we move them forward. I guess everything we do is like squeezing a balloon. You squeeze one area and then another area pushes out. So we've got to be cognizant of all of that. Those are the only comments I have. And
Just a follow-up, just like you, the school, there could be potentially, if there's 38 units, it could be 76 more cars. Just point. I am for moving this forward also.
Yep, no, I agree. And I'm sorry, it could be 49 children, not 67. Provided homes have 1.264 children. All right, seeing no additional comments. As I said during the public hearing portion, the motion I'll make takes into consideration attachment 4, section 1C. Oh, sorry, check that. Section 7C, the change of the wording. So my motion here will include that change of wording. So I move to include on the April 1st, 2021 public hearing of the special town meeting warrant, the article set forth as attachment 4 of the posted 25 Hackamattack Road Affordable Housing Municipal Development and Tax Increment Financing District application, with a correction in section 7C of the proposed article, striking the word acreage and replacing it with the words value of taxable property. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Patty, you're on.
Hey, you gotta get your act together here. David Douglas, how do you vote?
I am in favor, Patty.
Very brilliant.
In favor?
Ruth Lyons,
In favor.
Matt Nixon,
In favor, and Dave, I think you threw an extra sound in there.
Oh, an extra
and Roland Cox.
Patty will find it out.
In favor.
That is totally unanimously in favor.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, John.
I want to thank you, Dave, and board, and we look forward to having this discussion too at town meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna.
Good night.
We are on to new business, item 21-28. Consideration and any appropriate action to approve the town manager's office and finance director issuing an RFP for town audit services. I believe Kathy was going to take us through this item.
It always takes me a while to unmute. So we were notified, Derek was notified by our auditing firm that they were not going to continue to do governmental accounting. So I put together this RFP. I also contacted some firms just to make sure there was some interest there. And I will, I'll post the RFP on our website, and also we will I will directly send them to those 3 firms that I contacted.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any
Kathy.
questions?
I'm going to find out. Any questions from the board? I think we've been briefed a couple times. Nothing good. Derek, you got a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. The only thing I'll add is that we'll make sure it's posted on the MMA website as well.
Excellent. All right, seeing no other questions, Kathy, I would say you were very complete. You quieted everyone. I will make a motion to release the RFP for the town audit services. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second,
Oh, motion and seconded by Nixon. Skin of his teeth. Go ahead, Patty.
David Douglas, how do you vote?
I am in favor.
Marie Brilliant,
In favor.
Bruce Lyons,
in favor.
Matt Nixon,
In favor.
Roland Tufts,
In favor.
unanimously in favor.
Thank you, Patty. Appreciate it. 21-29, consideration any appropriate action to authorize construction over limit permits or paving on Route 196. Dennis Cox, take us away.
Good evening, everyone. This is a housekeeping type of request from MDOT in regards to the ultra-thin overlay that's going to be going on this summer on 196 from approximately 201 to the Brunswick line at the river. Again, as I mentioned, it's just a housekeeping deal. This is just a form letter that goes out to all the municipalities in the affected areas on DOT type projects. They're just letting us know that with the construction, there's going to be heavy equipment brought in. There'll be large volumes of stone, gravel removed, things like that on the road. So there is a possibility of overweight loads on the streets to the side of the route, you know, as they leave and exit the construction area. In this case for Topsham, it's very unlikely that they'll be on our side streets because it is 196. They'll come and go right off of 196 and work that area pretty much. They don't have a reason to go up side streets or our main street or things like that, really. If they do, they will have to follow our procedures and notify the town and request a road permit for doing that work. So it's just a formality from the state. I recommend that the selectmen approve the request and sign off on the letter.
Are there any questions of Dennis? Dennis, one question, it does talk about the ability for the town to require a bond. What's our thought process on that?
I don't believe it's necessary, Dave, because the work is going to be on 196. It's a large road. They aren't going to be on our side streets. If we don't routinely ask for bonding for work like this in the past.
Okay. All right, because that last part you put in there, I'll probably go without, but it does, with the state always moving themselves out of responsibility for more and more roads. The bond is interesting, but if we haven't done it before, and this has been something, I won't push it.
I would like to add then, Dave, that in the future, if we want to look into that, the project going on up on the river road with the water company may be an area that we would consider a bonding in.
Agreed. I definitely agree. Especially anything that's over what we're anticipating further degrades our roads, right? We're always struggling. I think it's certainly something we need to be cognizant of.
Right.
Go ahead, Mark.
And actually, you don't have to make that part of the decision tonight. So by tonight, you're saying we'll give you the permit, but if they actually come forward and ask for one later, you can still make the bond decision later.
Excellent. All right. Any other questions or comments? Seeing nothing, I will make a motion that we authorize construction over limit permits for paving of Route 196 as presented by the Public Works Director. Do I have a second?
Second,
Motion and seconded on a tie. It's up to you, Patty. Patty, go ahead, take us away.
David Douglas,
I'm in favor.
Marie Brilliant,
In favor.
Bruce Lyons,
in favor.
Matt Nixon,
In favor.
and Roland Tufts.
In favor.
Unanimously in favor, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We are on to 21-30, consideration any appropriate action on the appointment of Rebecca, want to go with Yock, to the Board of Appeals. Silent J, and I think I got it. We interviewed Rebecca this evening for the Board of Appeals. Certainly qualified. I have no questions or concerns, anything from the board? No. I make a motion that we appoint Rebecca Yock to the Board of Appeals. Second?
Second,
Ah,
Motion and seconded. Patty, would you take the vote, please?
Okay, David Douglas, how do you
I'm
vote?
in favor.
Marie Brilliant,
In favor?
Ruth Lyons,
in favor,
Matt Nixon,
in favor.
and Mr. Tufts.
In favor.
Unanimously in favor, Chairman.
Thank you, Patty. We are on to 21-31, consideration any appropriate action for Topsham to host a first annual Topsham-based small business expo. So I will take us through this. This was an idea that I've been recently I've been brainstorming different ideas in a way to promote a business that I've embarked on. And we had and I don't remember what we were in as the board, but a couple of weeks back, Selectmen Lyons had made the comment at one point there were several, we knew that there were several hundred small businesses here in Topsham. And I think what I've proposed to the board, what I'd like to propose is that the Topsham Board of Selectmen host an annual Topsham-based small business expo. And as the letter that I put forward to you, it's that I envision, that there are many small businesses in Topsham. They're not widely known and could use some form of advertising, customer outreach to help support their business. And I think that's certainly something this board should take on and could support. Whether they're, someone at their, these could be home businesses, could be someone with a very small location in the commercial district, whether they're a jewelry maker, woodworker, web designer. I think if you would envision a Saturday once a year here in the municipal building parking lot for, 8 a.m. to 1, 9 a.m. to 2, whatever it is. These individuals in a setup, if they've got a pop-up tent, tables, that they can put their stuff on display. And I don't view this as like a craft fair where you're showing up to buy things. I picture this as the businesses selling themselves. It's a way to show their offering, show what they're doing. And I think, and one of the things I've really thought about, and I would like to see this as a once a year event, not multiple times, because I want people to be able to circle it on their calendars and say, I must get to that. I want to see what these Topsham businesses have to offer. And if we ended up doing it too often, I know how I am. Oh, I'll get to that the next time it's there. And we all get busy and people don't go away. And I don't know as it would have the success. So I've thrown out some ideas to generate discussion. It's something I would really like to see the Topsham, our board, drive, be actively involved in the planning and the participating. And I will stop at this point and take any feedback, what the board thinks, believes. Go ahead, Ruth.
well, like I said before, there used to be an active small business committee that would help and go visit and just encourage other businesses. And we paid dues, we did a lot of things, but the problem is a lot of these businesses are one person, maybe two, and it's very difficult for them to get away. But we'd hold at 7 o'clock in the morning once a month. But anyway, I support this wholeheartedly because I don't see it as just the vendors, them being vendors and them getting their wares out once a year. I see it as they know that the town of Topsham and the Board of Selectmen are supporting them and that we are encouraging it. And I think always the towns need to stand behind their businesses. And to do this, I think it makes a big statement. And I am 100% in support of this.
Go ahead, Roland.
I would, excuse me, I would take it one step farther and, make it that day or that week, but also to make this a virtual event and use our, our town website to some extent to draw traffic and bring attention to these businesses. Like you said, if you have a one-person operation, maybe they can't afford to be off-site, but at least, they can be seen virtually where individuals can essentially inspect their business and understand more about what's going on.
Agreed. One of the things I certainly want some feedback is I want us to be a part of this. If it means a couple of workshops that we have to sit down and plan it out, I don't want to just hand it off to staff. I want us to show, just as Ruth said, that we're here and we're backing the individuals and the people. And, and for us to take part, but I would like this to really come from the Topsham board.
We will have to have
Go ahead, Ruth.
I'm sorry. We will have to have a couple of workshops because we have to think, are we going to serve refreshments? Is that going to be on us and to support? And if we do, that's a good thing. And what will it be? And sometimes I don't think it shows or improper or anything, but sometimes Panera will donate, and so will the donut place donate the supplies. And I don't think that makes us obligated to them. But anyway, those are things we might want to think about. And I certainly, if there's a little committee or whatever, I certainly would like to be on it and help.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say, clearly I'm very biased. I think this is a fantastic idea. I have zero issues with this, and I would be more than happy to dedicate quite a bit of time to helping plan this.
Yep.
Great sentiment, David.
Thank you, Matt. Any further discussion? Seeing nothing. So I will make a motion that the Topsham Board of Selectmen explore the possibility of hosting a Topsham-based small business expo on a to-be-determined Saturday, September 2021. And just not part of the motion, but as a nugget, I do envision this earlier in the summer, maybe a June going forward, but this year is a different year, right? Get people that opportunity, maybe get some summer money being spent and such. So that's my motion, to explore the possibility. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion, Dan, seconded. That one's on you, Patty. You got a tough night, Patty.
Patty, we love you.
Yeah, see, Ruth out campaigning for the second.
Okay, how do we vote? David Douglas.
Oh, I'm in favor.
Better be in favor. All right, Marie Brilliant.
In favor.
Ruth Lyons.
In favor.
Matt Nixon.
In favor.
Roland Test.
In favor.
Unanimously in favor, Chairman Douglas.
Thank you, Patty. 21-32. Consideration any appropriate action to change the town meeting date and place from May 26, 2021 to June 2nd, 2021, utilizing a drive-in format. And I believe the town manager, there you are, sorry. There you are, Derek.
Yeah, thanks. Same situation as last year. We still have indoor gathering limits as directed by the state through the month of May. One correction on the agenda item, although it doesn't really apply if you go with the proposed motion, is the original date set forth in last year's warrant was May 19th. The 26th was the date we came up with later because we couldn't find an indoor facility. But basically, we're looking to June 2nd as a primary date for the next town meeting, and June 3rd as a backup date in the event we have inclement weather or some other unforeseen event. We currently have a moderator scheduled for both days or reserved. We also have the tech company that we used last year with a backup FM transmitter. And the fairgrounds say it's okay for those two dates. So we'd like to propose moving those dates to June 2nd with backup on the 3rd.
Because I never pay attention to rain dates, Mr. Manager, we will have to keep in mind a extremely tiny Board of Selectmen agenda or none at all for June 3rd, just in case we're rained out. I never think of rain dates. I always look at, oh, June 2nd is good. Any questions or comments about this item? All right, I will make a motion to postpone town meeting to June 2nd, 2021 with a rain date of June 3rd, 2021 at 6 p.m. at the Topsham Fairgrounds utilizing a drive-in format. There's the motion. Where's the second?
I second it.
There we go, Marie. All right, motion been seconded. Patty, this is you.
All right, David Douglas,
I am in favor.
Marie Brilliant,
In favor.
Ruth Lyons,
In favor.
Matt Nixon,
In favor.
and Roland Tufts.
In favor.
Again, unanimously in favor.
Thank you, Patty. We have got to be the most lively governing board anywhere in the state of Maine. 21-34, consideration and any appropriate action seeking authorization to apply for a Maine State Coastal Community Grant due on April 15th to implement portions of the Topsham Fair Mall watershed plan. And Rod is back with us.
Hey, everybody. Well, thanks for allowing me to sneak onto your agenda and trying to pull something together in time for that. I
Right, I'm
provided a
sorry.
mem-
This is Derek. I'd like to interrupt. I think we skipped an agenda number,
Oh, I will wait my turn.
2133.
Oh, sorry. I will. Well, we're going to backtrack, Rod. Pretend you were never here. I got so excited, Marie. I got my arms up. And 21-33, consideration any appropriate action to utilize new language for certain housekeeping articles on the town meeting warrant. Your turn, Mr. Manager.
Thank you. As you know, when I took over the road responsibility of town manager last year with COVID, town meeting getting delayed and everything, there's a few items that we noticed that could potentially be more clear on the warrant. After the hiring of Ms. Ricker and Mr. Waltz, we've collaborated several times on the warrant and how it looks, as well as maybe making things more clear and understandable. Everything we've been doing in the past for many years wasn't quite clear on the warrant as to how we do things. So we just wanted to clear that up. I hate to use the word housekeeping, but that's essentially what it is too. Mark will be talking about the first two articles, and Kathy's here to help with the next four as well as myself. So Mark, if you'd like to start with the first ones, that'd be great.
Sure. So some of this, we were looking at some other towns' warrants to getting ideas, and this is actually part of our tax acquired property guidelines, is we're supposed to look at the properties before we actually get them to make sure we really want them. An example might be if someplace had a lot of environmental issues, we don't necessarily want to be in that chain of title. So we'd like to be able to come to you before the lien matures and then February and say, hey, let's not foreclose on this property. The lien would stay in place, but we wouldn't become the owners so that we wouldn't be in the chain of title for environmental liabilities. There may be other reasons sometime why we wouldn't want a place. Maybe there's a quarry without a fence, or that's something that was dangerous where people could get hurt and we don't want to own it for that reason. But this just gives you the authority or us to bring things to you and have you make a decision throughout the year before the lien matures for that one. And I guess I'll ask any questions on that one. And if not, I'll move on to the next one. So, seeing none. So the next one's a little broader than what we've had in the warrant in the past. In the past, it specifically says personal property and limits a value of 5,000 that you can dispose of throughout the year. We took out the limit and we took out personal, so that if there was surplus town property of any sort that you deemed you wanted to dispose of, this would give you the ability to do it. So that was that one. Any questions on that one?
Looks clear.
Okay. If not, the next one is, sorry, played some. The next one's gifts. So on the next one, it allows us to, if we get a gift, to set up a reserve fund for it and then spend it for the purposes in there, and then not have to deal with it specifically to make it roll over to the next year. So it makes it legal to take that gift and continue to use the next year. Kathy, anything you want to add to that? I guess not. So
no, I got nothing.
The one following that deals with current gifts. So for instance, we had the gentleman that gave the $800 for the police firing range. on the current year, this allows us to come to you at the end of the month in June and say, we've got these gift funds we'd like to roll over to the next year. So this allows you to kind of fix, so to speak, the current ones. Any questions, any of the gift ones? Next one's the same thing for any other capital reserve accounts that weren't formally voted in the past to set aside to future years. Gives you the ability to set up capital reserve accounts for that or for other reserve accounts that the statutes allow. And then the final one is a special one, basically because of the money we hear may be coming from the federal government, that if we just have this money come, then we're not gonna be able to do anything with it without having a special town meeting. So this last article would give you the authority to make the decisions on how to spend it, so that you don't have, given how hard it is to have special town meetings right now. So this way you can make the decision yourself.
The important thing with that last article, just like we saw with the Keep Maine Healthy grant, is there's probably most likely going to be strict in certain guidelines. So that's what we have to follow. What we're hearing right now is the expiration date for that money is December of 2024. But this particular article will cover just for 1 year, at least initially, and we can figure it out afterwards.
Are there any questions pertaining to these items, the housekeeping of wording?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Mark, this is kind of a dumb question, but previously, like, let's say the grader broke down and we wanted to get rid of it or whatever. Under a previous authorization, the Board of Selectmen wouldn't really be able to do anything with it. We just have to sit there and wait until the next town meeting.
That would be my meeting, correct?
Okay.
That wasn't the standard practice, although we've been practicing that. We just wanted to clear up the language so it is clear as to what we're doing.
Fair enough. Thank you.
I think that's what a lot of this is, Mr. Manager, right? Things, we just want to make sure we're in line and doing the right thing. And that's what this is. No other questions or comments? Nope. So I will make a motion that we utilize the new language and have it included on the April 15th public hearing for the special town meeting, June 2nd, 2021.
Second.
Motioned and seconded. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Pat. Oh, yeah. I have to do it this way. The state said so, dang it.
All right, David Douglas, how do you vote?
I'm in favor.
Ruth Brilliant,
In favor?
Ruth Lyons?
Ruth,
Ruth
you're muted.
Lyons.
With you're on mute.
Let's read my lips in
I
favor.
read her lips since they met Nixon.
No new taxes, right? In favor.
Rowan Tufts,
In favor.
unanimously in favor.
Thank you, Patty. Now we are on to the long-awaited 21-34. Consideration any appropriate action seeking authorization for Maine State Coastal Community Grant due still on April 15th to implement portions of the Topsham Fair Mall watershed plan. Hey, Rod, why don't you bring us up to speed here?
Thank you, everybody. So I believe there was a memo in your packet and a scope of work as defined, just to let you know where I'm still pulling the pieces of this together. And the nexus of this dates back some time, but really I'm always in contact with MDEP and watershed managers to we're annually looking at 319 grants. I said that in the memo, that's our funding to implement watershed planning items. And just for those that don't know, the reason we did the plan and continually look to do the implementation. Back when we did the plan 2013, I believe, I likened it to MDOT issuing traffic permits in the Topsham Fair Mall Road area, where prior to Monument Place being built, MDOT shut down issuing traffic permits. So the town bonded money and built a road, and we were able to issue traffic permits to keep the economic development arm of the Topsham Fair Mall up and running. Similarly, MDEP does have the authority to stop issuing stormwater permits based on the urban impaired stream status. Although I don't see that as a huge threat, they do offer us money to address the urban impaired stream, so that's what we continually do there. In this effort, the Coastal Community Grant specifically has some climate resiliency focus this year. We read that as thinking that some of the ideas that we were batting around in the plan, not only the watershed plan, but the transportation plan, could be addressed if we could get some design work done out there. Specifically, what was not done in the transportation plan was going into any specifics about stormwater management within the right-of-way, which is something we would want to address when we do designs out there. So we're trying to draft a scope of work that would allow us to at least get, I would call it a bit of a baby step, but at least a step forward with that planning effort. And I'll be happy to answer some questions.
Rod, when we take on something, when we start doing something like this, do we start working with the developers so any new development starts taking on these same ideas and ways of doing things?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I'll be back here because the 319 is going to be in a month or two. And I've been chatting about that proposal as well. One of the things, and this is now I'm getting a bit off topic, but for the first time, 319, I think, and we're going to try to craft a grant opportunity that allows us to assist private businesses with state and federal funding on enhancing. So if a new development comes in, we would be able to actually enhance what they're able to do on their properties. So that's a separate grant topic. But what you're saying is what I hope that this grant produces is best management practices that could actually go throughout town, really. I mean, it's really one of those things where you're talking about increased stormwater capacity. And then for the Topsham Fair Mall, the acute issue is chloride. So it's very different than other places in town. So I think it's going to be applicable, but the one added item in the Topsham Fair Mall is that we will be lining even any infiltration basin so that chloride doesn't seep into the groundwater.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions of Rod? Seeing nothing. Oh, we got one lean in.
I got one. Rob, does 319 allow for construction?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, 319, it shifted. It did. We were granted 319 to do the planning. They stopped offering it for planning purposes. Now they're doing it again, but it's really specifically for construction projects.
Cool. All right. That's a helpful pot of money then. Good deal.
And to give you a heads up, we're looking at, there's a big puddle in the roadway currently that we're looking at doing a construction project that will not interfere with the future Topsham Fair Mall transportation plan, and maybe doing an enhanced rain garden. Dennis is chatting with some people now and myself to put together some thoughts about something like that. Not a huge one, not a big one, but it's something.
And I would just make sure in the application that you stress the connection that Topsham has to the water or the coastal watershed, the coastal nature. I mean, you know all this, but yeah, just Merry Meeting Bay, Andrew.
Good point. Good point. Yep.
Sure
That's a good reminder. Yeah.
That's all.
Yep.
Otherwise, this is awesome.
Anything else? Excellent. I will make a motion that we authorize the application to the Maine State Coastal Community Grant to implement portions of the Topsham Fair Mall Watershed Plan. Do I have a second?
I'll second
it. We've been one extreme to the other tonight. So we've motioned and seconded. Oh, Patty, go ahead.
David Douglas.
I'm in favor.
Marie Brilliant.
In favor.
Bruce Lyons.
In favor.
Matt Nixon.
In favor.
And Mr. Tufts.
In favor.
Again, unanimously in favor.
Excellent. Thank you,
Thank you.
Patty. We have two executive sessions tonight, 2125, which was a tabled item to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 4056D to discuss labor negotiations, and 21-35, enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 4056E, consultation with legal counsel. I make a motion that we enter into executive session.
Second,
Motion Dan, seconded. Patty,
Okay, David Douglas, how do you vote?
I'm in favor.
Marie Brilliant,
In favor?
Ruth Lyons,
in favor.
Nat Nixon,
In favor?
and William Tufts.
In favor.
Unanimously in favor, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Patty. You enjoy your holiday weekend.
I'm ready for the Easter Bunny.
That's right. Give me some of those malted eggs.